Hey everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of our RANT series. Today we're going to do part 2 of my concert experiences rant. Okay, so this is basically a trip back down memory lane for me as I go through my big concert ticket stub book here. It's basically just a big photo album that I've been putting concert ticket stubs in for a long time, and I've got stuff going all the way back to 1981, and we left off at part 1 of this episode right towards the end of the 80s. So if you haven't seen it, don't watch this one yet. Go back and watch that one first. You get everything from the beginning. I'm going to kind of take us through the end of the 80s into the 90s and the 2000s. I got a lot of stuff here, so I don't know how much I'm going to get to. We might have to do part 3 of this. You never know. But this has been a lot of fun for me. I'm really looking forward to some of this stuff here. So let's I think where I left off was the Monsters of Rock, what was that, 1988 concert at the old Giant Stadium. But I have a couple other things right around that time that I think I talked about Slayer at the Felt Forum, New York City, which is below Madison Square Garden. So another one I wanted to talk about, which is right around the same time. So this was actually February of 1988. So this was kind of like something different for me because, again, I was a big metalhead at the time. Still am, but I mean, really big. I didn't listen to much else but metal. But in the 80s, I started to listen to a little bit of jazz, and specifically like jazz guitar players, right? So guys like John Mclaughlin and Al Di Meola, and I was listening to the Dixie Dregs, Steve Morse, and a guy named Alan Holdsworth, right? So I caught this band called the Jazz Explosion Super Band 1988, or Jazz Explosion Super Band 88, right? And it was Stanley Clarke and Alan Holdsworth, and I believe Randy Brecker and Jim Beard, and I'm pretty sure it was Steve Smith on drums, okay? And they played at the Chance at Poughkeepsie, New York. And, again, here's this metal guy, metal kid, whatever, I was only 22 at the time, going to see this cool show, and I was still in college at the time, just getting ready to finish up. I just had a couple months left, and I remember specifically going to this show and sitting at the bar, and it was early. The band wasn't set to go on for a while. There was hardly anybody in the place at the time, and I'm sitting at the bar, and I look over to my left, and there's a short-haired, kind of English-looking gentleman drinking beer in a pint glass. While everybody there was drinking beer and out of the bottle, right, whatever. And I'm looking at him, and I'm kind of like, I do believe that's Alan Holdsworth sitting right there. So, of course, I walk up to him, and I'm like, Mr. Holdsworth. And he's like, oh, how are you, mate? And he tips his glass to me, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to seeing the show. And he's like, I hope you enjoy. And he takes a sip, gives me a cheers, and there he goes backstage. And I was like, oh. And then, of course, the show was ridiculous because you had all these like superstars up there, and I remember it just being like off the chains good. And it's a shame that lineup didn't like record an album or something, because it was unbelievably good. You had Holdsworth and Clarke and Steve Smith and Randy Brecker, Jim Beard's keyboards. It was nuts. And that was probably, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the first like true jazz concerts that I had seen. And I was like, wow. And that really kind of set the stage for what I would then go to listen to through a lot of the early 90s, the late 80s, and, like 89, 90, 91, 92, that type of thing. So what else do we got here? So, we got the GRP All-Stars at the Beacon Theater. What else? I told the Rolling Stones story. I told the Stevie Ray Vaughan story. Radio City. At this time, we're going into late 89. I'm starting to hang out in New York City a lot. I would soon be working there, but after I graduated college, I was living at Long Island for about a year after graduation, so easy for me to get in and out of the city. And I started really getting into jazz, so I would go to Radio City a lot, in the Beacon Theater. So I go see David Sanborn, okay? Living out in Long Island, there was a couple cool places out in the island that used to have a lot of jazz. So I saw one place was the Intermediate Arts Center. I believe that was in Huntington, if I'm not mistaken. So we got Steps Ahead, all right? The Metropolitan Cafe, also somewhere out in Long Island. Couldn't tell you where. It was a long time ago. I saw Stanley Jordan, Stanley Jordan. That was very cool. Cool little place. It was like a little supper club type of thing. Very cool. Also at the Intermediate Arts Center, Elements, which was Mark Egan and Danny Gottlieb, the bass player and drummer from Pat Metheny's band, set up this really cool band of their own. What else we got here? John Mclaughlin. Okay, this is at, I believe this was at the Palladium. Yeah, the Palladium. This is the last show I ever saw at the Palladium. First show I saw was Triumph and Saxon very early in the decade, and then to close out the decade, this was June of '89, it was John Mclaughlin, Borelli Lagren. God, was it Dimiola? Could have sworn it was Dimiola too. I know it was definitely not, no, maybe it was Larry Coryell. I think it was actually McLaughlin, Coryell, and Borelli Lagren. Okay, the Italian guitar player, all playing, acoustic classical stuff, doing the whole guitar trio thing. That was very, very cool. More GRP All-Stars. At the time, GRP was a very prestigious jazz record label. Had the Grusin Brothers and Chick Corea's Electric Band, and God, who else? Larry Carlton was on there, Lee Ritenour, all sorts of cats, right? It was very cool. So they would have, like, the holidays every year. They'd do this big GRP All-Star nights and have, like, 4 or 5 acts playing and all these all-stars playing together, and I would go to that like every year for a couple of years. It was a lot of fun. What else we got? B.B. King, Mike Stern, also at Manor Media Arts Center, great guitar player. Bad English at the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York, 1989. Let's see, what else? Don Grusin at the Bottom Line. Okay, very cool. What else? What does this say? I can't even read something at the Ritz. I believe this was Nuclear Assault and Candlemass. Pretty cool. Chick Corea Electric Band at the Chance, 1990. I remember that being a sizzling show. Frank Gambale and company, man. Very cool. A lot of JVC All-Star ticket stubs. God, from all over. December 1990, November 1990. Oh, so they did, a couple nights. All right, so they did a couple nights in a row. I guess I went to a bunch of them. Whitesnake, Slip of the Tongue Tour with Steve Vai, Adrian Vandenberg in tow. Orange County Fairgrounds, Middletown, New York, July 1990. Judas Priest, Megadeth and Testament, Nassau Coliseum, 1990. All right, so here is where I started my kind of real love affair with Yes and going to see Yes as often as possible. That actually, for me, didn't start till the 90s. So, and it started off March of 1990 going to see Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe at Madison Square Garden. That was the kind of the beginning, because at the time, you had the Yes lineup, okay? Actually, Yes really wasn't even, there was no John Anderson, right? So it was like, really, that's what was going on. It was Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. You had Trevor Rabin and the other stuff kind of really not doing much of anything. So went to see that. That was pretty cool. Santana at the Beacon Theater, Saratoga Performing Arts Festival, JVC Jazz Festival, saw that a couple years in a row. Deep Purple at Radio City Music Hall, 1991, April 1991. That, of course, was the Slaves and Masters, Joe Lynn Turner thing. Not much of a fan. I remember that being a decent concert, but it was not like seeing Deep Purple for me. And no offense to Joe, because I like Joe, and I'm very fond of the Rainbow era that he was in, even though I love the Dio stuff the best. But I just felt that him coming into Deep Purple basically turned Purple into like Rainbow Mark, 18 million. So I don't know. Didn't really work for me. Madison Square Garden, ZZ Top and the Black Crowes. This was just as the Black Crowes were starting to get very, very popular, right? They were just fresh on the scene, 1991, January. I thought they were great. I thought ZZ Top was the first and only time I've seen ZZ Top. And they were going through the whole motions of all the gimmicks on stage and the floors moving and all the women out there and them doing all the choreographed moves. And I was like, this ain't ZZ Top. What the hell is this, right? So here we have, all right, so 1991, all right, July, an evening with Yes at Madison Square Garden. So this was the Union Tour. This was all those guys on stage together in the round at the Garden. And I remember at the time thinking, this is the greatest shit ever. It was just so cool. Considering I had always liked Yes, but I was really into Yes at the beginning of the 90s. I really got into Yes heavily all throughout the decade because I was kind of moving away from a lot of the metal stuff because the 90s, grunge and alternative was happening, which I didn't like, and a lot of the metal bands were trying to keep up with that and doing different things, and it just like I moved to progressive music and a lot of jazz big time. So a lot of what you're going to be hearing is a lot of that stuff. So, but yeah, Yes at the Garden, Union Tour. I think I saw the Union Tour 3 times. Maybe it was 4. I don't know. We'll see coming up. Yeah. So then July of 91, an evening with Yes at the Orange County Fairgrounds, also the Union tour thing. Same year. Just that was a week later. I was going to see them everywhere. I went to see Scorpions and Trickster, Nassau Coliseum, May of 1991. Robin Trower at the Chance, March of 91. I was literally going to concerts constantly around this time. So here, just on this one page, you got April 12th, 91, Deep Purple. January 29th, 1991, ZZ Top. July 15th, 91, Yes. July 22nd, Yes. May 3rd, Scorpions. March 12th, Trower. April 6th, Lynch Mob at World Stage in Spring Valley. What else we got here? It keeps on going. April 20th, 1991, Yes at Nassau Coliseum. So I literally saw Yes like, what, 3 times? I know there's more. Like 3 times in the span of, like 2 months. What else? We talked about Lynch Mob. Stu Ham, all right. October 11th, 1991. Newport Jazz Festival, Saratoga Performing Arts Center, June 29th, 1991. Bad Company and Damn Yankees, September 2nd, 1991. Allman Brothers, Orange with Jeff Healey Band. Oh, that was a drunken day, my God. That was August 28th, 1992. Okay, so now we're crossing to 1992. So that was notable. So my buddy and I, we went out. Was this that fateful day? No, I'm trying to remember. There was might have been this day. I don't remember the exact date. It's probably that same summer, I think, because it was definitely at the Orange County Fairgrounds. I'm not sure of the band who was playing, but there was it might have been this one. But my buddy and I were sitting in an Italian restaurant that had a very cool bar, like literally like not even a mile from the fairgrounds where the Allman Brothers were playing, and Jeff Healey Band. And we got done eating, we're sitting at the bar, watching the TV, and what are we watching on the TV? O.J. Simpson being chased throughout Los Angeles in his white Bronco. We literally were like watching this entire thing while we were drinking, getting loaded at the bar before the concert. And I'm thinking it's this concert. If it's not, it's another one right around that time period. But I remember we were sitting in the same place. We were going to the same fairgrounds. And I remember like just being, I think here it had rained or something like that. So there was mud everywhere at the fairgrounds. It was an outdoor event. And I remember, Jeff Healey totally smoked. It was great. And then the Allmans came out and we were just drinking up a storm, rampaging around. And then like afterwards, there's like this stupid little bar across the street from the fairgrounds. We decided to go there. We realized we didn't have any money because, of course, we spent it all at the restaurant and at the fairgrounds drinking crappy Coors Light or Budweiser. And we wind up like walking across the street to an ATM. All right. We were in the ATM taking out money, and then one of us had noticed that there was a camera up in the ATM, and we were so loaded, we decided, like, screw you, ATM, whoever's watching. So, we literally, like, trashed the entire ATM. They had all stuff, like little pamphlets and things. Like, we threw everything all over the floor, knocked over one of the tables. We were just like, argh! And we just rampaged out of there and went back to the bar. Thankfully, never heard anything of that incident, because that, obviously, you couldn't get away with stuff like that today. So, and I know I should have been doing that, but you know what you do when you're a kid and you're under the influence of alcohol. And I actually wasn't much of a kid then. I was getting up there in age, but that was 92, so I was 26. So anyway, Joe Satriani, Roseland Ballroom, December 5th, 1992. Allman Brothers, again, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, March 92. What is this? Van Halen and Vince Neil, Speedway, Orange County Speedway, July 6, 93. Metallica, Albany Arena, February 28, 1992. Dixie Dregs reunion at the Chance. That was unbelievable. I remember that. October 4th, 1992. Guns N' Roses Metallica, Giant Stadium, July 18th, 1992, with Faith No More. I remember that specifically because my ex-girlfriend at the time was a huge Guns N' Roses fan, and other than when they first came out with their debut album, I was never into Guns N' Roses, but I love Metallica. I was big into Faith No More, so I said, let's go to that. And I remember, like, Faith No More were really good, Metallica were very good, and then Guns N' Roses came out like an hour and a half late. They were all wasted and drunk, and Axl Rose was pissed off at the world, shouting at the roadies, shouting at the crowd, and they were just not very good. And I will always remember that, what a dick he was and how horrible they were. And I'm just kind of like, and that kind of carried over all these years. And I just kind of lost a lot of respect for them. I didn't have much to begin with at the time, but I was like, I have no use for you guys. All right, then we got March 11th, 93, Dream Theater at the Chance. What else? Pink Floyd. My one and only time ever seeing Pink Floyd at Yankee Stadium, June 10th, 1994. That was pretty memorable. Did some things that night for the very last time ever, and probably a good setting for it, right? Yeah, that was good. That was pretty cool. One and only time seeing Pink Floyd. More Newport Jazz Festival, Saratoga Performing Arts Center, July 3rd, 1994. Jethro Tull, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, April 5th, 1994. Jethro Tull, same show. Metallica, Orange County Fairgrounds, June 17th, 1994. Jesus Christ Superstar, Eisenhower Hall at West Point. Marillion at the Chance, August 19th, 1995. Jethro Tull at the Beacon Theater, November 15th, 1995. So saw Tull twice within a year. Megadeth, Roseland Ballroom, January 28th, 1995, right? Yeah, 95. That was another ridiculous evening. So that was these crazy stories. My buddies and I got completely hammered at this show, and then after the show, we decided to go to this gentleman's club right across the street from the venue, and spent way too much money. Of course, you get nothing out of that stuff. And then just going and hopping on the subway afterwards and going home. But I just remember, friends of mine in our company thinking, oh my God, these women are so gorgeous. You think they'll want to meet us after they're done working? And it's like, no, they don't do those sort of things. They just want your money. Hello. Deep Purple, the Beacon Theater, November 27, 1996. Steve Morse, freshly in the band. I believe that was when they did, was that the 25th anniversary of Machine Head? It might have been. They played all of Machine Head. I think it was. Dream Theater, The Chance, December 4th, 1995. Right? I believe that was Derek Sherinian's final concert with the band. Maybe? No, maybe not that one. They did the show I saw with him was right before the holidays. That might be that one. If not, it's coming up. What do we got here? Jethro Tull Convention, Westport, Rhode Island, 1995. What else? G3 Tour, Satriani, Johnson Vibe, Beacon Theater, October 26, 1996. Ronnie James Dio at the Chance, Poughkeepsie, New York, May 2nd, 1997. Jethro Tull once again at Jones Beach. That was, when was that? May 97. I believe it was the first time my wife got to see Jethro Tull. She was my girlfriend at the time, and she did not enjoy that too much. She did not enjoy that. Dream Theater at the Chance, November 25th, 1997. Allman Brothers Band at Jones Beach, June 21st, 1997. Santana, Jones Beach, July 1997. God, I was going to Jones Beach like every week here. Santana. I believe that's the same show, right? Yep, same show. Yes, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, November 9th, 1997. Okay, here's an interesting one. Fish, the band, the singer Fish, ex-Marillion singer, at the Chance, July 1997. So that is actually, these are a little out of order. That is actually the first concert I ever took my now wife to. Not a very smart choice, right? So you're going to take your girlfriend who's not into prog rock or hard rock or any of that kind of stuff. You're going to take her to see Fish in a little place like the Chance in Poughkeepsie, New York. And I remember she actually enjoyed it, though. Believe it or not, Mastermind opened up. How cool is that, right? And I had seen Bill Behrens and the Mastermind guys at Nearfest, so I knew them and had seen them before. And I remember specifically this show was just interesting. So my friend, two buddies of mine, my one buddy brought his girlfriend, my one friend was solo, and then myself and my wife, now then girlfriend, walked in. And I remember as soon as we walked in, we the guys went to the bar to get some beers, and the ladies were standing by themselves. And I remember this douchebag was instantly zeroing in on my wife, okay, or my girlfriend. And he walked up and started talking to her and all this kind of stuff. And she's like, no, that's okay. I'm here with my boyfriend, whatever. And he was pretty loaded and he didn't really care. So he continued to be a pest. So then finally at one point, we came back from the bar with drinks and we kind of moved away. And And she's like, yeah, that guy's just kind of, he keeps approaching me, whatever. I'm like, all right, well, let me know if it happens again. So at another point, I go and I walk over and I go to start talking to one of my buddies. And he comes back over to my girlfriend again and grabs her by the arm. He's like, oh, why don't you come hang out over here with me? And I turn around and I see him. And I'm like, this fucking asshole, right? So I go walking up. I grab him by his arm and I'm like, let go of my girlfriend. Okay, otherwise we're going to have a problem. And he's like, oh, no, sorry, man. Oh, no big deal, no big deal. And I was pissed. And my friends were like, calm down, calm down. We just walked in here. We don't want to get kicked out already. I'm like, all right. So the show starts, whatever. About a half hour later, I go down to go to the bathroom. And the bathroom is downstairs below the stage. And who was walking in at the same time? That dude. And he sees me. He goes, I didn't mean nothing by it. I'm really sorry. I don't want to start nothing. And I said, you should have learned to accept no, okay, when she said it the first time. I said, the reason I'm pissed is because, granted, you didn't know that she was with someone, but then she told you she was, and you kept on doing it anyway. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. I've been drinking. I'm sorry. I won't even look at her. I'm like, you better not, right? And I remember she was like, the whole rest of the night, she goes, oh my God, you would have killed that guy, because he was like a short little guy. And I was like, come on, it's not cool. It's not cool. Anyway, what else we got here? So yes, at the Middleton Civic Center in November 1997. I think I did that. Fish. Allman Brothers, Jones Beach again, June 21st, 97. Jethro Tull. Are these the same shows? Jesus. Oh, these are the same shows. These are her tickets and mine. There you go. How about this? Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and Dream Theater at Jones Beach, Long Island, New York, August 9th, 1998. That was pretty damn memorable. All right? Very, very cool, long show. I went to a lot of shows around this time period at Jones Beach in Long Island, because I was still kind of hanging out down there quite a bit, but I stopped going there because it just takes the traffic getting to and from Long Island is just ridiculous. And I just they would have good bills there a lot, but they started having stuff like that here, so I started to go down there less. Dream Theater, this is the show I was thinking about. Dream Theater at the Chance, Poughkeepsie, New York, December 30th, 1998. It was right before the New Year. That was Derek Sherinian's kind of goodbye from the band. So it was a weird night. They played lots of covers. They did, all sorts of kind of cool stuff, but it was kind of a sad night. It was them saying goodbye to Derek because he was kind of moving on, right? It's right before Jordan Rudess joins. Black Sabbath, Pantera, Nassau Coliseum, February 6, 1999. That, of course, is the big reunion with Ozzy and Bill Ward, the whole original band. That was pretty cool. What do we got? Steve Morse Band, IMAC Theater, Huntington, New York. Government Mule, Derek Trucks Band, and Big Sugar, Irving Plaza, 3/24/99. That was, Government Mule was kind of a new band at the time. I was a big Allman Brothers fan. I remember totally into going to see them. This is at Irving Plaza, I believe. Yep. And they played like 4 hours. I was like, this is great, but is this show ever going to fucking end? I mean, just never ending. 30-minute long songs with these Herculean guitar and bass solos. And I mean, it was great. But I was like, I think that show went on till like 2 in the morning. And I was like, but it was really cool seeing Derek Trucks. He was like kind of like a teenager up there. He had this little solo band. He had just first kind of burst on the scene. So that was kind of cool. What else we got here? Dream Theater, Roseland Ballroom, February 26, 2000. I believe that was the incredible Scenes from a Memory Metropolis 2 show, the first of a couple that I had seen. And I actually got this one signed. I ran into, of all people, in the audience. Can you see that up there, top sign? Signed by Chris Jericho. All right, WWE wrestler and also lead singer for Fozzy. He's a big metal fan. He was just hanging around. Not a very nice guy. I've met him on a couple of occasions, and he's just not overly friendly, unless you know him really well, I guess. What else we got here? Kansas, Westbury Music Fair, October 13th, 2000. Fish once again at Irving Plaza, January 17th, 2000. So a couple cool Fish stories. So the other show that I was talking about, where I almost got into the fight with that dude who was chasing after my girlfriend, before the show, we actually went down the street from the Chance, is like a little club, right, and a little restaurant type of thing. So we went there to go they had like a buffet. They were advertising, so we went to go have a couple beers there, go have a little bite to eat. So at one point, we're waiting online, the buffet, and, I'm behind this kind of tall dude in front of me online who's just like taking forever, putting everything on his plate, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, whatever. And then I'm like looking at the back of his head, and I'm like, And then he kind of turns halfway this way, and I'm like, oh shit, it was Fish. And so we introduced ourselves, and we started chit-chatting. He's like, oh, the nice spread, in his thick accent and everything like that. Oh, looking forward to seeing you later and all that kind of stuff. So that was kind of cool. But then, fast forward like a year or two, and I go to see him in New York City, and almost the same thing. We go to a bar with the Pete's Tavern. Nothing to do with me. Pete's Tavern around the corner from the Irving Plaza in New York City. And walk in to go up to the bar. And he's sitting there chit-chatting with like a bunch of other guys who are also going to the show, having a beer himself. So again, funny, I walked up to him, said hello. I, talked about the time we met, a little bit prior up in Poughkeepsie. It didn't seem like he really remembered it, but it's fine. It was still kind of cool. What else we got here? King Crimson at the Supper Club, November 12th, 2000. A notable show because my buddy and I got really, really drunk at that show, and I don't really remember a lot of it. Other than the fact that I remember being cool, and that I think was, Adrian Ballou, obviously. What else? Seven Dust at the Chance, April 28th, 2001. Notable because I actually took my stepson to that show. He was big into kind of new metal when that first came out. He was pretty young. He was just a teenager, so that was kind of cool. What else we got here? Todd Rundgren, B.B. King's, October 27, 2001. That was just him on vocals and piano, and that guy, Jesse, whatever his last name is, on electric and acoustic guitar. That was kind of neat. The Pledge of Allegiance tour. Okay, another show that I took my stepson to. This was Slipknot, System of a Down, and who else? Was it Lincoln Park? Might have been Lincoln Park. Continental Arena, East Rutherford, New Jersey, October 31st, 2001, Halloween evening. Right? Actually, no. So that was October 31st, 2001. And then October 24th, 2001, literally a week before, I took him to another one. And I think that was the Family Values tour. So who was on what? That was Lincoln Park and Static X and maybe someone else. I don't know what, I lose track of that stuff. Then we also took him to Tantric at Irving Plaza, November 11th, 2001. So within the span of like 2 weeks, I took him to like a bunch of concerts, right? Yeah. Yeah, literally, because Seven Dust was August 28th, all right? Pledge of Allegiance was October 31st, Family Values was October 24th, and Tantric was November 11th. So in the span of like a couple months, he went to see 4 shows. Pretty cool for a 13-year-old kid or whatever he was right then, huh? So there we go. So at the Beacon Theater, Dream Theater, March 28, 2002. All right? There's a lot of Nearfest stuff in here that I'm not going to talk about because Nearfest I'm going to do a separate show on. Talk about Nearfest. What else? Because I got to do stuff, I have to, got to take my wife into consideration, or my girlfriend at the time, on what she likes. So I took her to see Mark Anthony, PNC Bank Arts Center in New Jersey, right, July 9th, 2002. She's Puerto Rican. She likes the salsa and, the Latin crooners and all that kind of stuff. Here we go. I'm taking the kid again. Ozfest 2002, July 9th, 2002, PNC Bank Arts Center. All right. Where my stepson, how old was he then? He was, like 13, 14 years old. He got to see naked ladies' breasts for the first time. We were sitting there in the crowd, and some chick couple rows in front of us just got up, took her shirt off, and I was like, "Don't look." And he's like, "Ooh." I said, "Don't tell your mother. Please don't tell your mother. She'll never let me take you to one of these things again." What do we got here? August 4th, 2002, The Who at Madison Square Garden. This was an incredible show. So this was like a month after John Entwistle died, when a lot of people didn't think the band were going to continue on, but they did. And man, they were like supercharged up that night. So my buddy and I, we went out beforehand. We had a nice meal and a good amount of beers and continued drinking during the show. And man, they were loud and cranked up and played everything you'd want to hear. Loud and raunchy and raucous Who, man. Just, it was awesome. Daltrey sounded great. Townsend was potent that night. And whether they were just fired up and wanting to pay tribute to, Entwistle, who just passed away or not, I don't know. But man, it was so good. And that was the first time I, seen him in a bit. And it was just completely awesome. The best time I've ever seen him. Okay. Yes, Jones Beach Theater once again, August 3rd, 2002. Luis Miguel, another Latin singer I took my wife to, February 14th, 2002. What else? Bruce Springsteen of the E Street Band. First time ever seeing him, because I had to go, and I was getting into Bruce at the time. This was on the Rising Tour. Okay, so this is July 18th, 2003 at Giant Stadium. We spent a lot of money, like $200-something for a ticket on the floor area, or like that first level right around the floor, the field, I should say. And I remember it poured that day. Thunder, lightning, rain. The stage was under a big tarp and cover, so the band played. We all got drenched. My buddy and I, who I went to a lot of these shows with, we got rip-roaring drunk beforehand. Had a great time, though. And, and then somehow wound up we actually stayed in rented a little hotel room in New York City. So I took a train into the city, met up with him. We had some Indian food, drank a bit, went to the show, drank a lot, then went back to New York City, took a bus back, went to New York City, crashed in the hotel room with him, got up the next morning, came back home. He went to work. So it was fine, but it was a lot of fun. Epic show. He played for hours and hours. G3 at the Orpheum Theater in Boston, Massachusetts, November 12th, 2003. I was on a business trip with my then ex-boss, and he's like, let's go see some music. I'm like, well, Yngwie and Satch and Vi are playing, so we went. It was great. How about Chicago, Mid-Hudson Civic Center, December 5th, 2003, with my wife and I. What else we got? Springsteen again. Giant Stadium. I saw him twice on that tour, right? So August, the first one was July. He came back a couple weeks later, August 28th. That one was not quite as memorable. It was good, but the first one was better. How about Yes Once Again? 35th Anniversary Tour, Madison Square Garden, May 13th, 2004. That was a really good show. I've seen Yes a lot. Iced Earth, Children of Bodom, B.B. King Blues Club, April 29, 2004. All right. Dream Theater again at the theater at Madison Square Garden, April 3rd, 2004. Probably my favorite Dream Theater show. Maybe that one or the one at Roseland on the Scenes from a Memory tour. This was the Train of Thought tour. This was dynamite. Dynamite. Deep Purple, Beacon Theater, February 29, 2004. How about Lynyrd Skynyrd, Westbury Music Fair, February 28, 2004. David Bowie, all right. PNC Bank Arts Center, June 5th, 2004. How are we doing on time? All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to do a part 3 of this, I think, because I've got a shitload to go. All right. So I don't want to make these too epic. What else we got here? Marshall Tucker Band, Commander Cody, Graham Parker, Orange County Fairgrounds, July 29, 2004. How about the Musical Box? Doing the Lamb Lies Down on Broadway show. Union County Arts Center in Rahway, New Jersey. October 17, 2004. That was a great show. And I had already seen the Musical Box doing their Genesis show at Nearfest. So I was like, I've wanted to see like all the different shows. So I've seen them do, yeah, I'm drawing a complete blank on the album. Holy crap. Well, I've seen them do Lamb once, and then Selling England by the Pound. I've seen them do that show twice. I would love to see them do like a Foxtrot or Nursery Crime show, but they never seem to want to do that. What else we got? Dillinger Escape Plan, B.B. King Blues Club, 2004, November. Chick Corea Electric Band, once again. Tarrytown, New York, the Music Hall Theater, November 6, 2004. Happy the Man and Frog Cafe. How cool is that? At the Forum Theater, Main Street in Metuchen, New Jersey. I remember that show. That was quite good. Happy the Man, right? I've seen them twice. I saw them at Nearfest also. Slayer at Roseland Ballroom, November 11th, 2004. Marillion, Irving Plaza, 2004. This time around with Steve Hogarth, obviously. I've seen him a couple times with Steve Hogarth. More Nearfest. Prince at Madison Square Garden with my wife, then girlfriend. That was July 14th, 2004, the Musicology Tour. That was kind of like eye-opening for me. My first time seeing kind of like a pop R&B type of artist. And he was awesome. He was awesome. My wife was totally getting into it. She's like screaming up a storm. You know, I felt like that Bon Jovi concert that I referenced in part 1 of this series here, you know. That was a lot of fun. One and only time seeing Priest. Soilwork, Dark Tranquility, B.B. King Blues Club. Slipknot, Continental Arena, East Rutherford, New Jersey, March 2005. Some of these shows I actually was going to cover for the website. So again, a lot of these metal shows, I was in a period where I was going a lot to New York City to review and photograph these concerts, okay, for the record labels or for the bands to then do a piece on the website on Seed Tranquility. Okay, so a lot of these I would, kind of go by myself and interview the band, meet up with the band backstage, go up front in the photo pit, all that kind of stuff. Flower Kings, all right, the Flower Kings from Sweden, prog act, all right, at the New Jersey Prog House in Metuchen, New Jersey. That was kind of fun. More Nearfest stuff, right? I think I might kind of leave it at 2005. All right, so we're gonna stop this at 2005. Gonna save it for another day. So where we're at, I'm gonna kick off with Judas Priest, and I believe it was Queensryche. Was it Queensryche? God, I think so. At PNC Bank Arts Center, June 10th, 2005. So we're going to start back up with 2005 on the next video. On the next video. So if this is on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on the mighty YouTube. We got part 3 of this Concert Experiences rant coming up. Hope you enjoyed this. This is actually a lot of fun. In fact, obviously, I just told you what the next one I'm going to talk about is, but the one right after that, I have loads of really fun stories to tell you. It's the first Gigantor show that I saw. That was pretty memorable for a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. So we'll talk about them next time around. We'll see you real soon, guys, and don't go away. All right, bye.